Hey everybody, it's Glenn, back in this video as 31 horror toys in 31 days continue, and this time around we're dipping back into Toy Biz's Marvel Legends Monsters box set from 2006, having previously featured both Dracula and the Zombie, and fans of Frankenstein's monster, don't worry, he'll be coming soon, but this time around we're featuring the Werewolf by Night. And I have to admit, I'm quite the fan of the characters, so much so I've completed 2 of my very own customs of him. Both my customs leaned more towards more modern, monstrous interpretations of the character. The one on the left there, really my own interpretation, then the one on the right is how he appeared in the comic art of the Legion of Monsters limited series of 2011-2012. Whereas Toy Biz's interpretation is much more classic, fur-covered but largely humanoid, and as such in appearance at least, the Werewolf apple doesn't seem to have fallen too far from the tree of Universal's 1941 classic film The Wolfman. And during the 1970s, just like Dracula and the Zombie, the Werewolf was subject of his own title. And if you're wondering just why the sudden influx of horror comics during that period, it's because the Comics Code Authority that regulates comic books had relaxed its rules on depictions of horror and the occult. That title ran for 5 years and is probably best remembered by some as including the first appearance of Moon Knight. That's not to say the Werewolf himself isn't important, as he pops up pretty consistently, most recently during Marvel's Secret Wars event in the pages of Mrs. Deadpool and the Howling Commandos. As we take a closer look at the figure itself, and the sculpt and deco combine together really well, with the dark washes really accentuating the fur texture that's raised in relief in the sculpt. And that deco is at its best on the head sculpt. I love the sculpt of the pointed ears and the monstrous, perhaps howling expression. But whereas that could lend a comical edge, here the deco with that piercing stare and the tones of the interior of the mouth really lend this figure a naturalism. Now looking at articulation, and the head rotates side to side, yet there is no neck hinge, which is frankly disappointing. At the shoulder the arm rotates and moves up, albeit stiffly, to a right angle to the body. Then there's upper arm rotation followed by a double jointed elbow, then there's rotation above the wrist, and then the hand is hinged moving up and down, plus there is also finger articulation. He does have an ab crunch, but this only moves the slightest amount forward and only really returns the upper body to an upright position. There is waist rotation, not the prettiest ball jointed hips, but they sure are practical, moving out far and to the front and to the back. And then there's upper leg rotation followed by a double jointed knee, then there's rotation mid lower leg followed by an hinged ankle moving the foot backwards and forwards. There's only the tiniest ankle pivot and then toe articulation. So all things considered, he is my favourite that we've looked at from this set to date. You'll have to stay tuned to see if Frankenstein's monster can knock him from his perch. However, I do wish the Werewolf's articulation was better. A neck hinge and a deeper ankle pivot would make a big difference, and I would expect a Werewolf to be nimble. As we look at the packaging, he has 1 less point of articulation than Dracula. Anyway, click this video if you missed my look at Tim Burton's tragic toys, and stay tuned for much more to come in 31 horror toys in 31 days. I hope to see you next time. Bye.